right, guys, welcome back and Merry Christmas to everybody. It's December 25th. My name is Sal Cosentino. I am your trainer, global trainer for today, and your one-on-one mentor. I want to start by wishing, obviously, everybody a Merry Christmas and hope you and your families enjoyed yourself and taking the time needed to spend time with your family and making sure that everything goes well. This is going to be part two of our last session. In our last session, um, we talked about we what we talked about was we talked about a lot, some stuff off topic, but other than that, we talked about um, a lot of stuff, and I will give you that information in a second. Okay, so we talked about the Microsoft 365 Certified Endpoint Administrator Associate, which is I've already done back in March. Every year I do it. Training. We talked about the study guide, right? We talked about the. We also talked about something off topic, but we talked about the KVM um, KVM, like I mentioned to you guys before, um, our hypervisors and how Red Hat uses KVM and Ubuntu also uses KVM. And we also talked about Oracle using Oracle Virtual Box Manager for creating your hypervisor environment and creating your VMs. We are going to be using uh, Workstation Pro as our hypervisor too to create those machines. Sort of what I did here. I created this Windows 10 client machine with an AD and MECM primary site server, which is co-managing to Intune through. And I'm also going to talk about that too, but I want to kind of not fully talk about it, but I did mention it a little bit, and I'm not gonna mention it 100% because I want to talk to you guys about AADC tool, right? To synchronize, and I was in the middle of going in between tenants, and the reason for this class today is to talk about um, I want to talk about uh, how to do that because there is a way to do it and how it would be drawn out and whatnot. I'm not going to do it today, but I just want to kind of explain it to you. And I also want to, because of the architecture that I have, um, I'll draw it out for you. But what I'm going to do also is I'm going to kind of slowly explain to you what the difference is between a single tenant um, synchronization and what it is for Entra AD Connect um, multi-tenant synchronization, right? So, but they still involve configuring AD Connect to sync users and groups. That is important. But when we're talking about migrating from like devices from um, your MECM PS server or MEM PS server primary site to our Intune, it involves co-managing, right? So co-management is a tool that's normally used, but we've I know we've already talked about that and Ubuntu, right? And I gave you some information on that if you want to try it out. You're more than welcome. It's an OpenStack application. We also talked about oh, here it is. There's the VM OpenStack. I can send you guys some information on that if you like. I send you the two links. You're more than welcome to ask. Just ask. We also talked about uh, configuration and within Intune, right? So when we talked about Intune, uh, sorry guys, give me 1 second. Did I not give you guys any notes on that? Did I not give you any notes on that? I thought I did. Ah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Okay. So we talked about the introduction to Intune. Back in 2010, it was formerly called Windows Intune, right? Right. And then after that, they introduced the MEM, which is Microsoft Endpoint Manager, right? And that was your Intune, pretty much. That's what it was called. And now they call it again. Now they're obviously they're calling it MEM, Endpoint Management. So if you were to go now to our Intune portal, obviously it's called Intune Admin Center. If you were to go to your office or admin.microsoft.com, and crack up on the left side pane of the web page, the database. It's now called Microsoft Intune. So they renamed it back and forth. They were calling it Endpoint. They were calling it Intune. They were calling it Endpoint Manager. They were just changing the names left, right, and center. So now it's now called Microsoft Intune, right? So again, that's our discussion stemmed from that. We talked about introduction to Intune, diagram, discussion about diagram, right? And we have our diagram here. Well, this is what we talked about, and this is part of our design window, right? So this is our design, and this is what we kind of what we did in our first our part one, which was a couple days ago. So just in case, um, and design based on our specification. Please note your architecture may be slightly different than mine. If it isn't, great. Prove it on your specification, right? So maybe different again, like I said. So it is important to note about that. And again, we also talked about um, that up there, guys. 1 second. Okay. So we talked about that. We talked about the introduction to Intune. We talked about again, starting your free trial. Um, you know, how to start your your free Intune plan one subscription for free 30 days. And I have videos on that as well too. And I also explained it on part one. Nothing too hard again on Tune Plan One, right? So you just again you go to your trusty internet, open up a new web page and type in Tune Plan one subscription. Again, it's totally up to you. Right. Plans and licensing. Click on that. So these are the different plans, again, across platforms, built-ins, right? So you can try this for free, and I'll give you the link on that. You just click on the link and get started. Now, if you have one or you don't have one, then you need to create an account. I just need to put in my email, right? So I'll put in my email, my existing email, right? If I didn't have it, right? So I'll just start with that. If I did have it, it'll recognize it, right? So it looks like you already have it with it, right? So I'll just either sign in with that or create a new account, right? If you do not have it, I need you to create a new account instead. So this is where you would put your information in. I'm not going to do this for you. Just make sure you have a credit card available for that subscription order. Um, all right, let's discuss options about creating your first uh, that's what we're going to show you how to do that today. But again, we could do that. You can also use Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 subscription, right? You could take that as well too. It does have it already includes the Intune plan one. If I think I showed you guys already, but again, you're gonna need your credit card for that one, because that is very, 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 very important, right? So give me 1 second. So in order to create, you're gonna need your plan. Um, you can also use your M3, and again, this will give you 30 days. This will already give you this will give you 30 days and is also extendable, right? So again, plus 60 to another 30 days. So 60 days total, right? Um, in this case, we've also discussed that, right? But in today's class, we're going to talk about again what we will need to create an Intune subscription for ourselves, our lab together, and for our company, right? So kind of understand how that works. Um, it is important, right? So you need to be aware of how to do that. And again, we are going to discuss that in a bit. Just going to finish up the what we did in our part one. And again, this is what we discussed in our last class, and it is important to note that. Um, right. And this is what we're going to be discussing today. So we did talk about a lot, right? We also talked about the sign up fees, and we talked about the memberships. We talked about MDM. We also talked about MDM. Uh, mm, uh, This is actually before that we talked about, we discussed the difference between MDM and MAM, right? We also discussed, how a device, uh, we also discussed how a device gets enrolled, rolled, right? Rolled. And if you guys remember, how does a device get enrolled? It gets enrolled into, right? What do you mean? How does it get enrolled into? So, say for example, let's take a picture of, um, take a picture of my laptop here, copy, right? And I will also take a picture. Second. Okay, so if I were to draw out my laptop here, right? And again, you know, I'm actually using a uh, Windows 11 or Windows 10, 10 or 11 device, right? You know, within a hypervisor to environment, right? So this is where I build my devices and my storage. And again, when I talk about, um, you know how this all works, within because this is important, right? So you kind of have to understand, um, how this all works, um, when you're talking about this kind of stuff. And when we talk about its architecture and how things get enrolled. Now, the question to you is how does it get enrolled, right? We do enroll. We start off by enrolling. We enroll this device, right, into right. So this will be enrolled into our cloud, and obviously our cloud right here, right. This is our Intune cloud, obviously, right, and this is our Intune cloud, right? So we're enrolling our device into Intune. So this device gets enrolled into Intune. Okay, fine. Step two, right? We can we can send and will be sending, um, as well as deploying policies, right? So we're going to deploy policies. Perfect. Applications, right? And we talked about this already. Configuration profiles, and this is what we talked about our last class, right? Because we can send, we'll be sending, as well as deploying these policies, right? So, um, configuration profiles, updates, right? Like your Windows updates, right? To Intune, security policies. What else? Compliance settings, right? So there's also compliance settings that we can send, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Right? This is just some sort of examples that we're going to be talking about, just to make it a little bit more simple for you, so that we know what we're talking about. Within Intune, and once we enroll this device, we can also in Intune, we can also, from our Windows 10 laptop within an Hyper 2 environment, using the internet, right? In the internet, Intune, yeah, internet, right? So the internet provides the database for the internet. So our Intune is obviously just the database, right? So that's obviously, uh, you know, its architecture. and it's pretty straightforward when we once we talk about that. So within here we can also factory reset, right? And again, I know we talked about this, and I'm just gonna re um reteach this to you just in case, and format the device. So in our case, it could be a physical laptop device or desktop, or VM, right? Or VM too, right? But right, just to make note, like I say we're gonna factory reset the device, like, the device meaning the physical laptop or desktop or VM, but we will not factory reset our personal devices. So make note of that, right? So, uh, you know, when I talk about when I when I talk about factory resetting and formatting um, the corporate device, right? So, which is your physical laptop or desktop or VM, right? So this has to be a corporate device, not your, and but we will not and again, this is important because I don't want you guys to actually factory reset your own laptops. I hope you're not really doing that. Like it's very, very, very important for you guys to know that. Right? Since we are talking about this, I don't want you guys to make that same mistake. That's all. Um, so kind of understand, right, how we are dealing with that. Um, and for right, our last, it's we will again when we enroll this device, we will also reinstall the operating system. Again, this is part of your Intune, how you need to learn and things you need to do in order to get this going. So, take the advice, right? And all right. So it's a little bit smaller. So understand these are what we're going to do in order to enroll within our NDM and environments. This isn't something we're going to be doing all today, but this is actually things that we can do within Intune and able to do within Intune. Give me one second. All right, sorry about that, guys. So this is what Intune, the capabilities of things we can do within Intune. We can enroll the voice, we could send, and obviously we'll be sending as well, deploying, be sending as well as deploying policies, um, applications, configuration profiles, updates, security policies, compliance settings, and etc. We're gonna also factory reset. You can also factory reset within Intune. I'm not gonna do that for you, but if you are deciding to do that, there is an option within Intune. I can show you guys that later, and you will also reinstall the operating system. Okay, this is the whole point of uh, learning the Intune environment, um, and how devices get enrolled, uh, how that gets enrolled. At least that way you guys know how that works. Um, so again, there was a lot to catch up about. We did talk about kiosks as well a little bit. Um, we discussed kiosks, right? Within Intune and how to create a Windows 10 VM as a kiosk machine. Um, so we discussed about, we also created one together, right? So we created a Windows 10 as a kiosk machine. And I showed you guys how to um, configure uh, profiles, profiles, right? 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 As an example, using kiosks, right? Kiosks, which was a template, I think that we were using. We were using a template, so there were templates there, and you just follow the templates. I'm gonna actually show you guys a little bit more because I think we're talking about the calculator, right? And we didn't finish it. I just kind of briefly showed you guys, thinking that, we have some questions and stuff, but there's different ways of doing it. And I want you guys to understand the differences between using the app browser versus using the kiosk browser, right? So it's very different and not similar at all. And using that app in order to create it, and how we can use links that host our apps in order to create kiosks, right? And the different methods of auto logins, or Azure AD, or just local administrators, right? So we sort of discussed that, and we also talked about, lastly, we talked about, we discussed three options when creating a new policy within configuration profiles, using Intune, right? So I showed you guys how to create those. We did create a few together. Example, we created the, if I'm gonna open it up and I were to resume that, we created the interactive login message screen as one, on one of those machines, and we did some more others. So if I were to log in to our Microsoft Intune, oh, long, and I will paste that. Right, so I'm gonna enter in the password that I've created. Again, you guys should all have created one. I usually give all class passwords, like your first name, last name, the month, the season that you're in, and the month and date, and the month and the year in MMYY format. So that's an example of one. I will use my authenticator app, as I didn't set up telephone as another option. I think I didn't set it up as an option. No, I didn't. So I'm gonna go back, prove the request again, and I will prove that. Back. Sorry, guys. Give me one. Oh no, it worked. That's great. Um, Let me redo this again, as it took some time for that to come up. So I'm going to enter in the number that I have now. I'm going to confirm that. All right. So it should be accepted now. There we go. So we also talked about the configuration profiles. We discussed the three different configuration profiles. If you guys remember, one of them was settings catalog. The new one that we talked about was properties template. We talked about that too. The settings and templates catalog. We also talked about um, templates, and we talked about uh, the different ones that we created. So here's some that we created, right? Created those and some other ones. And then let's here, take that. So these were some of them that we created. And then they're all mixed up. And I can show you which one is which, right? Properties catalog. And this is actually a new one that we um, see the custom exe using all my URI. So that looks like the all my URI didn't work. I'm gonna have to take a look at that later on. I'm not gonna troubleshoot that right now. There might be something in the code that I gotta take a look at, but that came out with an error, and I can actually, if I click on it, should be able to tell me what the error was. There's the error code. So I can look up the error code later and take a look at that. So if I were to go to my devices, and within my devices, I can go to my configuration profiles, and these were the different configuration profiles that I created. Again, these are the different policy types, looking at the different policy types. So this actually gives me a lot of information that I need for the specific platform, right? So it does a lot. These are the different methods, and I actually will take a snapshot, right, myself. That way I know I created these, and I want you guys to do the same thing. I want you guys to take snapshots um, and take a look at those and take a look at those and see what happens, right? So we'll do that. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, guys. So again, we talked about that. We talked about the different um, the different policies, and these were the different policies that were created, right? So We did a lot here, and again, we had properties and we had templates, right? So those are the different templates that we had. So this was a properties catalog. This was a custom, right? So we had custom templates. I didn't want to talk about we also have, but we will not be discussing ADMX templates, right? So we can configure those and how to add ADMX templates, right? To our policy definitions and CSPs. I kind of did show you a little bit about the CSP when I did create the um, when I did create one of the catalog, the configuration profiles with the OMA UI, but there are many and many and many and many. I don't want to discuss that right now. It's a long topic. It could be a topic for discussion if you guys want to take the course. So there's a lot to cover here. You know, again, we're gonna slowly talk about that, and I also wanna talk about the kiosk configurations again, and we'll also talk about that's last actually, and then I want to talk about AADC intra. They renamed it. It used to be called AADC, which is your AAD direct connect tool, directory connect tool, which is a tool, right? They renamed it because they have a second one, but they have a version, a different version of it. But if I were to go to, here's my interactive login screen. So if I were to go to my Azure AD Connect, um, it's still called it something different. So if I were to close it and reopen it again, they call it Entra Active Directory Connect, Entra Connect Sync. Microsoft Entra Connect Sync, Microsoft. That's what they called it, and that's a new word. Microsoft Entra. I always forget, but Entra Connect Sync, right? It's used to be called formally known as ADC. Okay. I still call it the ADC tool. A lot of people who ask me, when I tell them, I talk to them about that, and we'll talk about that. We will discuss uh, multi tenant synchronization, right? So we'll talk about that and multi-tenant sync and single tenant sync. And we'll also uninstall and reinstall the ADC tool and synchronize it to our root domain, right? So our root domain using our global admin accounts, right? Um, so very straightforward. And then the kiosk configurations versus manual kiosk configurations, right? So I'm gonna split this into two videos. I will end this session for now, just so you guys can digest a little bit of it and what we did and what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be discussing today and what we already talked about. I'm going to end this video, part two, and create this as a part three. So this will be our part three. Part three, right? So today's date. And I will upload this video for you guys today, right? I'm just gonna take a little bit of a break because I have things to do. Something came up, or else I would have made this into a 2 or 3 hours or 4 hour session. But I'm gonna split this up just so you guys can do just a little bit. So in our part two, we discussed the following again. And I want to thank you guys again for taking the time uh, to talk to me and watch me and listen to me. And hopefully, you guys are taking notes. Again, please follow instructions and add yourself to my WhatsApp group channel. But just don't add me and expect me to add you into it. I need you to send me a message. Send me a message first. Say, hey, you know who you are, first name, last name, what's your country code, what do you like about this video, uh, what are your long-term goals when you're using MECM, Intune, MECM, SCCM, or Intune, right? Are you working with MECM or Intune, right? If so, what company? Uh, right? Or even Active Directory, right? Oh, and then we'll also be talking about Active Directory. Again, I want you to like and subscribe all my videos and channels, please. If you did that, um, you know, and I know you did that, then I will add you to my WhatsApp channel. I want to thank you guys again and hope you guys are all having a great Christmas thus far. Stay tuned for part three. Uh, Today, obviously, in a little while, part three of my three-part series in Microsoft's MD 102 exam, in preparation for the 102 exam, and making yourself a IT professional, right, with me. So watch my videos and learn how I became a professional, just like everybody else. If you guys are still learning or wanting to learn, or just refreshing yourself or new to this as well too, and want to invoke uh in a job field of IT where you're using admin or endpoint administrator, or as a engineer or architect, or and you want to learn a little bit about that, and you're learning about the AD and ADDC connect and how to create servers and how to create machines and so forth, right? So again, I want to thank you for that, and I will see you guys soon.